Hello and welcome to SoFi Career Coaching Session on the topic of mastering the negotiation. My name is Rachel Kim, and I am a career coach at SoFi, working every day with SoFi members to help them make progress on their career goals. I do that through one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and educational sessions like this one. Coaching is a free benefit for SoFi members, so if you are interested in becoming one, you can check us out at www.sofi.com. That's SOFI.com. Now, going back to the topic at hand on negotiations, as one of my mentors is known to say, great careers are built one conversation at a time, and negotiations conversations are often the most critically important ones to manage your career. It is often how we achieve our career goals. Now, in our careers, negotiations can happen in many different situations. Maybe you are negotiating contracts with vendors, or perhaps you're negotiating deadlines with team members. You might be in a career where you're negotiating every day. Perhaps you're an attorney and you're negotiating with opposing counsels as part of your work. But today's session is really focused on negotiating your compensation. And within that, we're skewing a little bit more towards negotiating for new job offers. So we will talk about what to negotiate and how to approach a negotiation conversation. But before that, we're going to start off with what we call negotiating for your happiness. And to start that off, I actually want you to pause and think about your career goals. I want you to anchor on those goals. And the reason we want to do that is because negotiations at the core is to help you align or realign your career trajectory towards those goals. Now, without that larger goal in mind, how do you know what you want to negotiate and what for? Compensation negotiations might seem pretty straightforward, but would that ultimately lead you to your career goals, or is it possibly taking you away? So as an example, I'll share a story about one of my clients who had been working on a career transition for about 6 months. And she was working both internally and externally to see what the possibilities were to transition functionally. And in one of those external conversations, she actually got a job offer. And the offer included compensation that was almost double what she was currently making. And so she had emailed me that offer and said, how could I turn this out? I can't turn this down, right? So we quickly got on the phone and talked through it. And then we also talked again through her main career goals and how this would help her move forward and make progress or not. And in that assessment, she realized that actually taking on this role with this new company would actually set her back and not move her forward towards those career goals. So even though that money was really exciting, that it just was not the right opportunity at this time. So she actually turned down that offer. So again, when you're thinking about compensation and negotiation, don't be blinded just by the salary is basically what I'm trying to say. And it's important to really think through, okay, what are the goals that I have, and how does this help me move forward towards that? So again, negotiating for your happiness, here are a few things for you to consider. So we encourage you to look at what your values are in the workplace and how those are tied to your motivators. So motivators, we think of both in terms of extrinsic motivators and intrinsic motivators. So extrinsic motivators are things outside of you, your person, such as salary, benefits, and the work environment. Intrinsic motivators is something that we've adopted from Daniel Pink and his research. It's noted in his book called Drive. And what he's found in researching a lot of successful people is that they were really driven by what he calls intrinsic motivators, especially in autonomy, purpose, and mastery. So if you're not familiar with these intrinsic motivators, I do recommend that you pick up that book, or you could just Google and get a summary of it. I'll share briefly what those things are. So autonomy is how much control you have over how you work and how you direct your work. Purpose is the desire to do things in the service of something bigger and larger than ourselves. And it doesn't necessarily mean purpose like you have to go save the world, but really seeing how your role is really connected to the mission and goals of the organization, right? How it moves and makes that impact. And mastery is your ability to continually improve at the skills and have experiences that really matters to you. Things that help you get into what we call flow. So when you look at your situation and you look at both intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, if you find that there's misalignment in any of those or all of those, that's when we should be thinking about negotiating for your happiness. So we challenge you to see what's possible to change in your current position, because a lot of members come to me and say, I'm not really happy with these things, so I'm going to look for a new job. But the first thing I'll say is, have you done the work to see if you could change your situation within your current work environment? So we take the steps to do that. But if you've done all that and nothing still shifts, then we want to look at moving into the job market. And as you move into the job market, there are a couple of things that we want you to analyze. First is what's happening in the market and how would your marketability be impacted? So in terms of that marketability piece, take a look at your personal and professional brand. Would moving now or soon impact your personal brand? Would you be looked at as a job hopper versus somebody who is really committed and passionate about the work that they're doing? Also, what is the market saying? Right? Is this a good time to leave work? Is in your region, in the function that you're in, is there a lot of hiring going on? Right? So is the environment good for job seeking right now? So look at those two things as in the market. And then, of course, you want to look at your market value, right? So as you go into the marketplace, again, I think a lot of you are interested in the compensation piece. You want to have really good data about what your current market value is as you approach the job search and a salary raise conversation. And when you are changing jobs, it is probably the best and biggest opportunity you have to raise your value, especially for those of us who've been feeling underpaid. So definitely take a look at your market value and your positioning before you go into the market. To do so, you could do some online research on platforms like Glassdoor.com, Salary.com, Payscale.com. They have generally good averages around the ranges of what you might be making, your market value, I guess I should say, in your region for your industry. Having said that, a lot of it isn't verified. So you want to verify it with talking to peers who are doing similar things. Again, in your region, you have to make sure that it's a parallel comparison. And also, if you have any recruiters that you've networked with in the past, they might be able to share that information with you. I like to say that I never turn down a conversation with a recruiter, because often those are the people with the best and most accurate information about your market value. So again, salary is a really critical piece to look at as you're negotiating a new job offer. As I said before, when you're switching jobs, it's often the biggest leverage to raise your value. But you could, of course, negotiate it much more than salary. Right? Again, salary is important, but there's so much more that might be coming into play. Again, going back to your values and your motivators list, what are some other things that you can negotiate for? So here's a list of some things that you might be able to negotiate. I would say for severance, that's typically something only they might offer to people who are at the higher level positions, but you never know. Relocation as well. We recommend that you do some research on the company that you're negotiating with to figure out which things that you might be able to move and negotiate. So as another example, personally, once I knew I was in a good enough range for the position in my market in terms of salary compensation, I chose not to press that further, but instead I negotiated working from home a few days a week and having flexible hours when I am in the office so that I can manage drop off and pick up of my children to school. And that piece was super important to me because I valued having a career that helped me be the type of parent I wanted to be as well. So really think about yourself and your values and your priorities, what matters and what doesn't as you approach that negotiations conversation. Now, conversely, there are pretty standard things you can't negotiate. So we just listed it here, and we recommend that you try not to waste your time trying to negotiate for these things. And here's some additional consideration. And it's really about knowing who you're negotiating with, right? Who's on the other side. You want to make sure that you understand, what's important to them, right? What's a win for them? What are they afraid of, right? Often you will have more leverage if it is a newly created position, a position that they've never filled before in a company, because they're not really sure. I mean, they might have also done the market value research, but they're not 100% sure what this position should be valued at. When you're negotiating with a smaller company, you might have more flexibility, just because they may have less of the structure around salary bands and titles. So you might, again, take a look at the opposing party here. has a job been open for a really long time? So you can try to get a sense of, are they really desperate to fill this role, in which case you might have more leverage. And then again, take a look at the job description and the conversations that you've been having with them in the process, and think critically about the top 3 things that they are looking for. And if you have those top 3 things, then again, you might have leverage because you are sort of the unicorn that they've been looking for. And, I did say opposing party here, but I do want you to approach the conversation towards having a win-win result. What I find really interesting, well, when I was trained on how to help our clients negotiate, my manager said, we want our clients not to have the best offer, which again shocked me. But what he added was that we want our clients to have the best offer without compromising the relationship. And I think that is so critical and key here, because these are people you're going to be working with every day, right? This is your manager. These are your peers. And just when you've made them fall in love with you and got that offer, you don't want to leave a bad taste in their mouth. And so there are these 5 different styles of negotiation. I've mentioned 2 of them here, collaborative and competitive. Those are the 2, according to research, that are the most effective in the negotiation conversation. But we do recommend a collaborative versus competitive one. This is, again, because we're looking for that win-win situation. And you want to make sure that you both come off feeling like, you didn't risk that relationship at all. People really do feel better about a negotiation process when you take that collaborative approach. So that's what we recommend. And so in summary, we recommend that you negotiate based on your own happiness. And to do that, you want to take a look at your personal values, right? And how it's tied to those motivators, and to negotiate for those. We want you to plan and prepare to determine what you will negotiate, who you're negotiating with, and then we want you to practice how you'll do it so that you'll get really comfortable when it's time to do so. And to do that, because again, no matter how much you practice, it's still going to be an awkward conversation, right? But to do that, we want you to practice. And again, if you are a SoFi member, definitely take up on our one-on-one coaching so that you can practice with a career coach here as well. One thing I should add here is we do not recommend that you negotiate over email. We recommend that you always try to do it on the phone or in person. So that I just didn't want to leave that out. So I hope that was helpful in helping you think through your negotiation strategy. Again, if you are a SoFi member and want coaching to review your negotiations plan, please come to us at SoFi.com. You can see the website link here to connect with our career team. And if you're not a SoFi member and you want to take a look at our amazing benefits, like free career coaching, please go to www.sofi.com. All right, good luck.